Recently, I've been introduced to the idea of batching as the way to boost your productivity and to get things done quicker in a shorter amount of time. Batching is simply dedicating a block of time to do one type of tasks. So there are different types of batching, but the simple idea is that we group similar tasks and then we do them within the same amount of time, within the same block of time. A simple example could be this video I'm making right now. So when I finish this video, I will have a few photos taken of myself while I'm still in this place and I'm still wearing this outfit, and these photos will serve me later on as my YouTube thumbnails. So think about how much time it would take me to have these photos taken, for instance, tomorrow. So it's a bit like killing two birds with one stone. However, batching is much more than that. As Michael Hyatt says, batching helps us avoid distraction by dedicating one block of time to do one task. So every time we get distracted, it takes us around 15 minutes to get the full focus on a task. So I thought, why not try batching in lesson preparation? Right? So instead of jumping from one topic to another, instead of jumping from one activity to another, why not use batching to create a certain type of activities or to create a certain group of activities to the same topic. So while I'm still in this mode, for instance, of preparing a lesson plan, let's say on the topic about body parts or animals, for instance, I could use this technique to create more lessons or more activities for different age groups or for different levels. In today's video, I'll show you how I use a batching technique to create 3 lesson plans with activities for 3 different age groups of young learners within the same block of time. Hi, my name is Marta and welcome to How to Teach. I've been teaching English to young learners for over 15 years now. And I have to say that the biggest amount of time I spend is on lesson preparation. And not only lesson preparation, but first and foremost on preparing different resources and materials. So there are dozens of resources and textbooks for students themselves. However, sometimes I feel that, teachers are a bit forgotten and, there is still scarcity of these materials for teachers. So that's why today I'll show you how I use a batching technique to create and prepare lesson plans and activities quicker for young learners. However, before we dive in, let me just say that I don't think that this technique is useful for every type of lesson preparation. So today I'll just focus purely on young learners because I think that when it comes to preparing lesson plans and preparing activities for young learners, a batching technique is actually super useful here. Okay, so let's dive in. So let's open my website, which is How to Teach, and I've got a blog post about batching in lesson planning. So let's say you have 3 different age groups. So we've got 3 to 4 year olds, we've got 5 to 6 year olds, and we've got 7 to 8 year olds. So normally what I would do, I would just start with one of them and then finish all the way through different lessons and then go to another one. But as we know, revision of materials is extremely important when it comes to teaching young learners. So what we need to remember is that students, they need constant revision of certain aspects of language, vocabulary, words. And based on the current knowledge they have, they build a new knowledge. So it's really important to build a new topics or new knowledge, maybe not the topic, but build a new knowledge, language knowledge around the topic that they are familiar with. Because based on that, they can expand. Once they can expand their knowledge. Once they are familiar with the topic, then they can connect what they already know with the new chunks of language, with the new vocabulary. So if we think about farm animals, we've got farm animals for 3 to 4 year olds. I've got 5 animals here. Then if you think about the topic for farm animals with the older group, you You can have revision of animals plus 5 new animals. So then you've got 7 to 8, we've got revision again of some of the animals, and then you add some 5 new animals. So as you can see, you can use the same topic but expanding the vocabulary of animals. You don't need to choose a different one. So then when you think about a language focus, so for 3 to 4 year olds, you start counting the animals from 1 to 5. So you can have 5 different animals, you can have 5 toys, like for instance dogs, and you ask them to count them. If you want to, you can expand the topic on parts of the body, so point to, a dog's nose or ears. You can have animal sounds. Remember, you don't expect children to be able to say their sentence, a dog says woof woof woof. What you want them to get is to literally just say the sound of the animal. So you can start the sentence saying, a dog says, and then you can pause and try and encourage children to answer the questions. You've got big, small, which can be really good for clear activities. So you've got muds here, if you think about it. And then we can move on. We don't have to stop and move on to different topics. Let's just think what we can do for 5 to 6 year olds in order to use this batching technique. So parts of the body, now we've got counting animals, so we can have from 1 to 10. We can show them the numbers as well. Parts of the body, so we can think about more difficult parts of the body, like tails, hooves, for instance. Then we've got animal sounds. So what does the donkey say? Oh, a donkey says. Of course, it would be ideal if kids could say a donkey says. But again, if they answer the question by just pretending to be one of the animals, then that's brilliant. And again, we've got big, small. We can add middle size, for instance. Yes, so we can ask them to sort, for instance, the different toys, different carts with different animals based on the size. So, and then you can expand into singular and plural. I wouldn't expect anyone to teach them and to try to explain to children, 5-year-old children, how to create a plural form, because they won't really understand. What you can say though, you can show them a flashcard with 1 animal, and then show them a flashcard with 2, 3 animals, and then you can emphasize the word s. So 1 dog, 2 dogs, and just slowly, get it have students to repeat it a few times. So bit by bit, they will be saying 2 dogs, 3 dogs. And again, you can expand this one. So this is the basic one for 3, 4 or 2, 4. We can have I have. So for instance, when playing a memory game, instead of just saying a name of the animal, they can say I have a dog, I have a cat, I have 2 cats, if you want them to play a plural and singular, for instance, a memory game. And then we go to 7 to 8 year old. I'm not really focusing on a written part. It's mostly about speaking, but still you can, add a few worksheets there. But then if you think about it, again, we expand. So we can now then ask them to count from 1 to 20, count them in 5s, do simple math calculations with the use of animals. So 5 dogs plus 4 dogs equals, for instance. And you can have parts of the body, and you can try to say a horse has 4 hooves, for instance. So try to, again, it's about drilling. It's not really about explanation. Although with some of the, 8-year-old, you can try to focus on this area in more detail. However, it's more about drilling and, getting students to have this correct, to be able to say the correct form of the verb. And again, you have big, middle size, small. Here we can say big, bigger, the biggest. So we've got comparative adjectives. A dog is smaller than a horse, so you can have 2 different toys, 2 different cards, 2 different pictures, and ask them to compare. Singular, plural again, and there are. So again, they play a memory game, they play a bingo game. So try get them to drill the sentences such as, oh, there are 2 dogs, there is 1 dog, for instance. So as you can see, we have planned the basic language focus based on the topic about farm animals for 3 different ages. And then what you can do, you can move on to the materials that you will need. So our basic ones, of course, we need flashcards in each of the groups. We need 2 to 3 different games. It can be memory game, it can be a snap game, it can be a bingo game, for instance. So these are the basic one, and kids of different ages, they love playing these games. I would be cautious about using a bingo game with 3 to 4 year old. But what you can do, you can use flashcards, for instance. You can cut them in half, and then you can create jigsaw puzzles for 3 to 4 year olds, and they will love it. So it's a try to make sure, because 5 to 6 year old, they get really competitive, but then again, they hate losing. So you can have a bit of crying there. So sometimes it's just to, play for the sake of playing a game, basically. Here, with 7 to 8 year olds, yes, they love competition, but they will be competitive, but they won't feel really offended as with 5 to 6. It won't be a disaster, yes? So you can easily organize loads of different games here. And then if you think about it, if you've got flashcards, you can create dozens of different flashcards game to use during your lesson. So as you can see, you've got a basic set of materials, and this is for each level is quite similar, because we want them to revise vocabulary, and then we expand language focus depending on the age. The current topic I've prepared for you is about Easter, and you can find all of the materials here. You can find on TPT store or test.com. So I'll show you the link later on. So as you can see, that's the current topic that you can easily use and you can easily prepare for next week, for instance, or if you want to have ready-made materials, then they are available in these 2 stores. So we've got 3 to 4 year olds, and again, we've got 4 basic colors, then we expand to 10 colors, and then we expand 10 colors, but with different shades, for instance, so we can have light and dark. We've got a vocabulary, which is a basic one. Here you've got a few, we try to add a few more, and just remember, if you want to add, for instance, jelly beans to this one as well, and chocolate egg, please, oh please, bring some real chocolate eggs, or bring some real jelly beans. I mean, nothing works as well as bringing food to the lesson, and actually give this food to children. They will learn it immediately. Yes, and if you ask them to say, oh, can I have 2 pink jelly beans? That would be brilliant. Can I have 1 chocolate egg? So ask them to ask you for these different, items. So, and then you've got a vocabulary here. You can think about lamb and bunny. I wouldn't introduce this one here because it sometimes messes, up in their mind, thinking which is a sheep, which is a lamb. You can have a big sheep or a little sheep, but I wouldn't go that far with saying a lamb. Here you've got a lamb and a bunny, so you can easily teach them that. And again, language focus, it's very similar to the one about farm animals if you think about it. Easter should be about fun, should be about something that, it's enjoyable. So you don't have to have very intense lesson, but then again, you need to have language focus, right? Every minute of the lesson is precious. So you need to make sure that you teach them something. It's not only about, playing hide and seek and, egg hunt. So you've got big and small, and you can ask them to compare different, eggs, and just sort them out. So you can have 2 boxes or 2 baskets would be lovely, where you put big eggs and small eggs. Ask them to count to 5. Again, we've got big, middle size, small. Whoever was teaching, topic about farm animals, that's a brilliant revision. And again, as I said, revision is crucial. Revision is crucial in terms of teaching young learners. And then you've got a count to 10, singular, plural, I have. So you've got a lot of drilling, yes, so they need to kind of get into the habit of using these sentences. So it's very similar. Language focus is really similar. As you can see, it's kind of batching here, if you think about it. because then you use the same or very similar language focus with them, a different topic. Of course, there are different varieties. This is just an example. So I don't want anyone to think that, oh, that's all we can, teach them. I'm just showing you how you can, within a short amount of time, how you can squeeze different topics or different age groups and just create something and prepare lessons, in groups, basically. And then materials needed, which is very similar. But batching does not stop here. So these are the flashcards that you will find in TPT store and in test.com, together with different worksheets and bingo games, memory games as well. But as you can see, this is another form of batching. So I use Canva, but you can use, Google. You can use Google Drive for this one. So Google Slides, you can use, Word document, whatever suits you. I'm not really sure of your preferences when it comes to creating materials for young learners. But if you look at this one, so basically what I've got red, yellow, and then I've got blue and green. This is for 3 to 4 year olds. But I immediately added 5 to 6 year old. And I also added 7 to 8 because I've got different shades. I've got light and dark. So basically, I just blocked this time for creating flashcards for all 3 different age groups. What's more, I also added numbers. So as you can see, you've got also flashcards with different numbers. So it took me much less because at the same time, I just created the whole bulk of different flashcards for different age groups. So all I need to just do, you can just move them around in, for instance, in Canva. The other good thing is that when you go to my TPT store, there is also, a wide egg. But this one, what you can do with this one, if you don't want to use your, an ink in your printer, you can just buy color paper and then you can print out the same egg on different color paper, and he have the same thing. So you can just use, and then you can print out this one on different color paper. And here is the second set of flashcards, and I also use this technique, batching technique. So I just basically created all of the different flashcards for all 3 different age groups. So I've got even a short, note for myself, so I would remember. So I've got 3 to 4 year olds, and you can see that I've got a sheep, I've got a rabbit here, I've got an egg and the basket. But then I expand, so I add something, and then here is another one. So I just make sure, I've got everything here. And as you can see, I also use numbers. So it was much quicker because I was already creating these flashcards. So it was just literally copying and pasting. And then I also added a lamb and a sheep flashcards because I think that sometimes it may be quite tricky when it comes to, teaching a lamb. But it does not stop. Batching does not stop with, of course, creating flashcards. So you can have bingo game. You create just one template and then you go from one age group to another. You can have numbers. You can have different shades. These are color bingo game. But in the TPT store, you will also find the animal game. Easter vocabulary, Easter words, bingo game. And then what you do, you just basically copy and paste, and out of this one you create a memory game. So as you can see, you can use the same template and just create a bulk of different games, for different age groups. And it saves time because then you don't have to think about other, different games and creating different templates. You just use the same and you create, these games for different age groups. So all of the worksheets and all of the games and flashcards, you can find them in TPT store. So if you don't have time, you can print them out over the weekend. You've got also a black and white version that you can use. So then you won't have to, use your color ink, and then you can use them next week before Easter. So I'll show you 2 different topics that I prepared using a batching technique. And because we've got a current topic about Easter, if you would like to get all of these materials that I'll show you today, then you can go to TPT store or test.com and you can get these materials from these two online shops. That's all for today. I hope you found this video useful. And as always, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel, because there is a new video on teaching, methodology of teaching, online teaching, teaching young learners, productivity, organization and planning every week. So if you want to stay updated with my weekly inspirational videos for not only teachers but also all professionals who would like to try out different productivity and organizational techniques, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel. So see you next week. Bye bye.